All right, and now we will have a panel discussion with alumni who have previously participated in FINOPITCH. Our panelists are Mr. Hitoshi Harada, co-founder and CPO of AlpacaDB Incorporated, Mr. Mark Makdad, co-founder and CTO of Moneytree, and Mr. David B. Wang, CEO of krip. And the moderator is Mr. Atsushi Kitagawa, Managing Director Japan of Sony Ventures Corporation. Welcome. All right, the stage is yours.
All right, so hello everyone. My name is Atsushi Kitagawa, mentor of the FINOVATORS and managing director from Sony Ventures. So I will be leading today's discussion as a moderator. Welcome to this FINOPITCH alumni session, and we have a fantastic three guest speaker, as you can see today, and we are going to talk about bunch of topics like their memories of FINOPITCH, FIBC, and look back at their journey towards success. So let's get started. So panelist introductions. So shall we start from the Harada-san or David or Harada-san?
Yeah, sure, I can start. Yeah. Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Hitoshi from Alpaca, co-founder and CPO, CTO. Yeah, so like our memory with the FINOLAB, FINOPITCH was long time ago, 10 years ago.
Before that, so yeah. You should explain your company's interactions.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so Alpaca is a API first stock and crypto brokerage platform, and we provide services to almost more than 40 countries, more than 300 finance services across the globe, as well as we are hosting more than 10 million brokerage clients across the world. Yeah, so that's what we do. Yeah, okay. And then so there's just a small, short memory with this connection to this the community is that we actually started from FINOLAB 10 years ago. That was almost like the first time we were invited to this kind of startup FinTech ecosystem, and it was 10 years ago. And I'm very grateful that we are still connected here after 10 years. And so, and I'm actually very amazed that the community has evolved so much compared to 10 years ago, because back then we were just like had a small office in a co-working space in the Otomachi, and still very like we felt energetic and everyone was connected. We felt that we were part of the innovation, but now like looking at this this like bigger event, and I'm very impressed.
Thank you, Hitoshi-san. So the next is Mark. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Mark Makdad. I'm one of the founders and the CTO of Moneytree. Moneytree was founded in Japan in 2012 with the vision and the mission to better serve consumers and small businesses with their financial data and assisting financial institutions in providing those services to customers. I know that's a very long description, but many people know us. We also release a to-consumer application by the name of Moneytree, and are an established data aggregator in Japan. About myself personally, I've been in Japan about 20 years, and I am a technologist by background, but I love solving product problems. And my first experience, or the experience I really remember about FINOPITCH, or FIBC as it was called, we had a regulation change in Japan in 2018 that my company and a few other companies were involved in, where the banks needed to provide APIs to companies like mine, and they did not have to previously. And I was at FINOLAB talking about ideas of what we could pitch. And a gentleman from Mizuho Bank said, well, we have a test environment for doing bank transfers. Would you like to demo that? And so we did that. So the law changed in 2018, and I thought that FinoPitch, not just as a place to pitch your startup, but also as a place where you could challenge ideas. This is possible. Let me show you this. And so I'm excited to talk about that and other things today. And lovely to see all of you here. Thank you.
Excellent. So, David, go ahead. Yeah.
So hi, everyone. You might have seen me a little bit earlier representing HeyMax. So for those who weren't here, HeyMax is a company that helps you earn miles on everyday spending. And we are now working with partners like Japan Railway East in Japan to help you earn miles when you're spending and engaging with local brands like JRE. But the reason I think I'm on this panel is, and I think I'm the baby amongst here, is that my involvement with FinoPitch last time was just 2 years ago, when we were very lucky to be here representing my former startup. So I used to run my startup called Krip, and we also operated in the credit card space, also helping people maximize their rewards. But long story short, Krip was acquired by HeyMax in the middle of last year, and I've stayed on to continue that journey with the HeyMax team, and that's kind of what brings me here today back on stage. And amongst other reasons, I think for sure this is a great platform for businesses from overseas coming to Japan to have the exposure, to have those relationships and start building those relationships on the ground. So, very thankful to be back, and certainly very thankful to get a chance to be on this stage again. That's an absolute honor.
Okay, David, thank you very much. So let's move on to the next. So the next is the how to say? So your current status and including big successful. So I'd like to know how your business developed after the FinoPitch. So I'd like to know your recent activities, so including exit or also the latest fundraising status and any other business development status topics, something. Yeah. Yeah, David,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I guess my journey is slightly shorter, so maybe this can be a quick one. So as I mentioned, Krip was acquired by HeyMax last summer, and for me it was a very interesting opportunity. The founders at HeyMax and I share a lot of stuff in common, and certainly around the vision of what we can do to help people maximize rewards with their spending. And we think there's a lot we can be done, and it was a very interesting time because that was when the advancement of AI came about. And we see a lot of opportunity where AI as a technology can help enable people to maximize their rewards faster, stronger. And I think, for me, this was a great opportunity to kind of join forces. We had the presence in Hong Kong for them to expand into, and they had the presence in Singapore for us to become regional. So that was a really, really good opportunity for us to essentially one of those 1 + 1 is greater than 2 situations. And I think looking back at what FinoPitch brought for us, it's really kind of what Steve Jobs said back in the day of you can only connect the dots looking back. I have to be honest, right? The relationships I built last time around 2 years ago did not directly materialize to any businesses at the time for Krip, but those relationships have stayed with me. And every time I come back to Japan, I visit my friends from MasterCard that I met here 2 years ago and others, right? And certainly with Shibata-san as well. So we're bringing all of that forwards into HeyMax now, and those conversations are much more mature than it was 2 years ago. So I think that's the beauty of this is this platform, right? Is those relationships to help break into this market, essentially.
Okay, so the exit timing, so itself, so it's maybe a little bit short compared to the other exit cases. So it would be great if you could share your background, with your thought about this point. So.
Yeah, I can see why some people might think it's short, but I think as a founder, the most challenging thing as a founder is to understand where your business's shortcomings are and where you need help, right? And from a business standpoint, what krip lacked was a incentive layer to engage with consumers. At the time, we were more of a B2B play, but what we realized was the opportunity is actually to see, but we didn't have the incentive layer, essentially. And again, very interesting timing to learn about HeyMax and understand that they've developed that with the Max Miles proposition, right? And personally, I'm a big aviation geek. Like, I love points and miles. And so there was a selfish reason also that I want to also get involved in this. But, I think from a commercial standpoint, it was a very, it was an opportunity that helps me fill the shortcomings of krip. Right? And so I don't see this really necessarily as an exit, but I see this as an extension of the journey. It's given krip, sort of the old krip, right, more wings to fly, and that's given us more ammunition as well to go out and achieve the same vision that both companies want to achieve.
Okay, great. So Mark, it's your turn. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I mentioned the company was founded in 2012, and just last year in August, we announced the sale of Moneytree to Mitsubishi UFJ Bank. We are a separate entity. We operate in the group, and we very happily operate as a platform and sell our services to other banks. So one of our larger customers was just invested in very heavily by Mizuho Bank, and I'm actually very proud of that fact because I believe that Japan needed a financial infrastructure player like Moneytree to do what it's doing, and I'm very excited looking forward that large Japanese banks are making these big investments, and I don't just mean Moneytree, into fintech companies. And this old idea of this is red, this is green, this is blue banks, and they have their own little worlds. The idea that the red bank owns a company providing major services to a blue, I'm actually kind of getting excited about what's going to happen next. And looking back on how FINOPITCH and FIBC was involved in that, I was a big product and tech geek. Like, why doesn't this exist? This should exist. And in my own head and in our own heads, we didn't come from a finance background. So everyone in finance was the bad guy in my life when I started Moneytree, because if they were the good guys, they would have already made it better. Clearly. I didn't know anything about regulation or compliance or any of that stuff. So it was venues like FINOPITCH and FINOLAB that brought us together and kind of brought the human aspect, like, oh, okay, these are just normal people who like to drink beer or hang out, and then when you really sit down and talk at a human level with people, you find out what the problems are, and looking back, now I say, oh, we were on the outside looking in, criticizing, and now we're totally on the inside, and oh, yeah. So I would say that it was one of the, it wasn't like everything changed overnight, but it's definitely, FIBC was kind of a turning point for us of getting connections to the people that had the information about how we could change things. So I'm excited as part of the MUFG group to continue our journey. Our mission hasn't changed at all. We just have a big brother with a little bit more money to spend to help us do it. So that's it. I'm very interested to hear about Alpaca, though, because it's a slightly different story.
Really, sorry. By the way, Mark, so I think, everyone has the same question and very strong interest about your post-merger for the Red Bank. So I think, we had the same question to the Yamaki-san from CAM 2 years ago on the same stage, and he disclosed most of the information, but if you can disclose, please.
Okay, sure. So the officially stated reason, I'd be reading the press release if I said it again, but we have a very strong champion in the bank, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Yamashita, who is in charge of retail digital at MUFG. And he sees the need for our platform infrastructure in the market. So they have publicly announced MUFG Bank is already a customer of ours and is using a number of our services, and they'd like to double down on that investment, and that is the main thesis behind working with us. But I actually just got out of a call prior to getting on this stage, and they're really encouraging us to just grow our existing business and keep going and keep doing what we're doing. That said, one bit of exciting news that I can share if you aren't aware is that MUFG will be launching a new digital bank in the future. And I can't say too much about it, but I can say I definitely am involved in that. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Yes, Hitoshi-san, go ahead, please.
My turn? Okay. Yeah. Alpaca's history is actually very complicated in a way. Because like first, to start with, when we pitched at the FINOPITCH back then, the idea was something called Capital Eco, and that was using deep learning, the previous age of the AI technology, and we were just applied that technology into the capital market trading as a service and as a tech company. We didn't think that we are going to be a financial business ourselves. But years later, we became, we acquired the US brokerage license under FINRA regulation. And this is the two Japanese guys went to the US and we got the brokerage license. I think this is the first time like two Japanese got that this way. And lots of stories during this journey. But like we learned many things through this, this FINOLAB community, but also the product. We iterated a couple times. We tried to build the product for the B2B, B2C, and then at the end we found that we always wanted to build a global scale product. But we didn't know how to do it. And finally, we concluded that we need to be a financial business to do that. And it went well. We found a pain point after many iterations on the customer side, and that's how we started trading API for algo traders. And then later, that evolved into the brokerage platform API product that we operate today. And so as a result, we just announced last month, our Series D at the valuation of $1.15 billion, becoming the unicorn status. Thanks for everyone's help. Yeah.
Big hand.
Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, that has been like a very, very long journey. Like product iteration was very painful at the beginning. Again, like Yoshi and I started the company just because we wanted to start a company, which was the biggest mistake we made on day one. We didn't know how to solve we needed to find the pain first to start and product the company. But we just selfishly started the company. But years later, what we learned was that listen to the customers, and we went to the Y Combinator batch as well, and we learned a lot of stuff. We went through many hard things. Like Yoshi and I, literally one time, we were almost, divorced. One day, right before seed round, we almost we were running out of money, and we couldn't find the investor to invest in us. And Yoshi and I, what are we going to do this? Yeah, but very luckily, we survived. And I think one of the lessons that we learned is that survival is very important. So how to survive, and the next day, next week, next month, the world might be different. You might find something totally different. So just being survive is also very important.
Okay, cool. So I will ask you guys about this question. Next part. So before that, So basically, in terms of the big announcement, fundraising a couple of months ago. So what was the feedback or reaction from outside in US? I think it was a quite impressive announcement news in the Japanese startup ecosystem. But how about your side in US reaction or from the Japanese investor something?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like Alpaca is a Delaware C Corp company, and we went through this YC and the Silicon Valley style growth. So everyone knows that the founders are Japanese, and we are seen as a kind of rare type of the startup, but also at the same time, like as a company, nothing unique. It's a tech company, it's a FinTech company out of Silicon Valley. But yeah, to answer your question, do I feel different now? Honestly, no. We still are founders mode. I literally wrote this in our one of the weekly newsletter within the company last month. That even after we are crossing this 1 billion mark, I'm still feeling the same way. Like I'm doing the same way, jumping into the code base. I'm not writing the code anymore, unlike years ago. But still, I'm jumping into the code base and trying to understand and talking to the engineers, product customers, and trying to figure out what the hell is this piece of the regulations. Yeah, and the customers are asking, and how can we solve this problem? And just like keep doing this. Of course, the scale is different. We have now 300 employees and growing into 400, 500 this year. So the scale and the management, we keep learning new stuff, like how to create lieutenants instead of just us telling people to do, and how to build and maintain the culture so that even if we become 1,000 people company, how Alpaca can be still Alpaca. And like we keep asking those questions every day. But yeah, as a personal level, am I doing something different? I don't think so, and I don't feel that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So let's go to next. So so we can talk about basically so positive things so far today. But so on the other hand, so you have so a lot hard things so far. So what was the most tough things, hard things so far in your journey? So I think welcome to the discussion for each one. So but who reads first? Most. Okay. Oh, Harada-san, please.
Yeah, I just talked about the painful seed round. But yeah, there are many stuff we went through. The other thing I remember in my mind right now is this 2022 after. Yes, we were small in the crypto trading business. We launched the crypto business in 2021, and we were working very closely with the FTX US. We had a client assets, digital assets held at the FTX US, and one day, one of my investors emailed to us in the morning, which is very rare. What happened? I opened the email saying that, "Hey guys, like, what's going on in the Silicon Valley Bank?" Oh shit. Yeah, FTX was corrupting, and like we salvaged the assets. And 2 weeks later, I think like I was managing some finance accounting side, and the investors emailed to us what's going on with the Silicon Valley Bank. And because I just landed in this account management role, I didn't have the credentials in my hands, and at the time, like we had more than half of the company held at the Silicon Valley Bank. shit. And I jumped into open the browser, tried to log into the Silicon Valley Bank, already unresponsive. I tried to call support and hey, what's the password? How can I recover my access all day long? And it didn't work. So at that time, really between Yoshi and me, we literally said, oh yeah, we're done, we're fucked. This is the end of the Alpaca. That's what we thought. That was a Friday. And then over the weekend, the DOJ came in. They announced that they make a whole for any creditors. And yeah, so we were relieved. But that was a very, very tough weekend. Yeah.
How do you think about it, about this point, from your side?
I mean, that's incredibly stressful because there's nothing you caused and there's nothing you could do about it. And so all your hard work, if you could blame yourself and you made a mistake, it's one thing, but it's just all your hard work and still could be gone. That must have been a very stressful weekend. Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to skip a turn, but it actually kind of relates to what I was going to say, which is the toughest part being a founder, been through that journey, is actually not knowing whether the direction you're on is the right direction, and you put a lot of effort into it, and you might just hit the wall. And then you realize you've wasted a lot of time and effort. And part of that process that makes things a little bit challenging is sometimes there's no feedback loop, right? And so you might end up in a situation where you need someone's validation or approval, and you never get it, or you wait a long time for that to happen. And so in a way, in those times, you feel like your destiny is in someone's hands. And that similar, I suppose, to, when you have all this money locked up in an account that just disappeared overnight, that's a very tough feeling to endure. And I think as a founder, understanding how to navigate yourself, even just mentally and emotionally through that process, it really defines you as an entrepreneur, as a business person, right? And I have to say, I've been through my fair share of that in that journey, and I think that was the toughest because, people always look up, I think, to a lot of entrepreneurs and think this is really impressive. They have this somewhat glorious life for those who are successful, but at the same time, being an entrepreneur is also one of the loneliest jobs out there because these kind of moments, no one else can understand, right? So the kind of comment I make to people is, and by the way, my background was in finance, right? I had a career in finance and investments. And even though those are stressful jobs, I always say you can still somewhat leave your stress at the door every night. But as a founder, you take that stress to bed, right? And so I can't imagine that kind of stress on a Friday night. I cannot imagine that at all. So I would say that's sort of like some of the biggest challenges.
Well, it's interesting that, so I would say so I actually very feel empathic about what Mark was saying earlier, that I'm also tech background. I had no idea about finance world until we started Alpaca, or even after I started Alpaca. But then going through these moments actually taught us, and me especially, why banks are so important and why banks should work as expected. And this is why financial institution, financial services are so important to be stable. And that's how we were just kids in that in that regards, that we didn't know why banks are so slow. Yes, because you have, it doesn't work, that's a big problem. Yeah.
I would say in terms of pain we experienced, I think we could all share a lot of individual things. And I think every entrepreneur, especially those that are raising money, from VCs and other sources, not having a lot of cash burn left and not having a good pipeline of fundraising is, I think everyone's got that one. It sounds like Alpaca had that. Moneytree definitely had that at some point. I'm not sure, but probably so. And I think it ties to that in that moment where you just nothing is going well, or a bunch of bad news happens, system incidents, or investor pulls out, or all these things that you can get up the next day and do it, and also that's hard enough, and then you try to talk to somebody about it, and there's not really, you can't talk to the employees about it that much, you know, so you kind of have, if you're lucky, you have a very good co-founder, and it's kind of like a marriage, right? It becomes like that. But I would say that would be probably be, I don't know what I would add to what's already been said. I do think, though, that something that wasn't mentioned, but I think all of our businesses have had this, that looking back, it seems like quick and obvious, but that kind of slow, or at least for Moneytree, was like a slow realization of like, oh, this business model isn't working. We need to entirely pivot our business and do something else with similar technology. And coming from a technology background, this was very hard for me to understand of like, well, we didn't change any of the code. We just changed the way we talk about it and the way we market it and the way we write contracts, and now we do a different business. And we have been transitioning our business twice. I mean, we're still a financial infrastructure player, but we kind of came to the realization, not to talk too much about our business, but that, oh, if we don't start building our own solutions on top of our own APIs, then nobody's going to know how to use this. It's actually an area that I'm really jealous of Alpaca. Your customers seem to have figured it out. So I think the knowledge of when, there's no right time to pivot, I guess, or nobody will ever tell you this is the right time, but you have to do it in a lot of cases unless you get really lucky, and that was hard. So.
Great. So, by the way, so both. So, do you have any advice how to adapt to the Japanese large financial institution? Between large institution and startups using technology. So you guys have a lot of course, yeah, you guys have a lot of know-how, maybe.
Working with large Japanese financial institutions, I just tell people it's about patience and finding your sponsors and your champions. The thing I often say is, you will find mid-level managers who are very excited about an idea, a product, a technology that you might have, and they will champion for you, but they are not enough to get it done. So you need to use them to network inside the organization, and that takes 12 to 24 months. And I don't know if it's like that in other markets, at least, but that's my experience in Japan. And so my advice to anyone who might be working with JR East in the future is be patient, right? But if you're patient, it will get done.
Well, yeah, compared to probably like those two, like I think we have less experiences when working direct, with the Japanese big institutions yet. We're working on that. So hopefully this opportunity gives us those triggers as well. But yeah, I agree that Japanese culture is kind of unique, and like people see it. Kind of slow, but actually I think like it's moving to the right direction. It just takes some time, and again, like that's for a reason. One thing I remember from early days, angel investors of ours told us, because we were also like very much cockroach mode for a long time, and we are trying to survive every year. And so one day, one of my friends and the angel investors, he told us that you guys are tenacious. And I think like that was coming from me and Yoshi being Japanese. So I think that's a trait that I think like everyone has, whether you're originally from Japan or coming to Japan. But yeah, but in a way also like we are working in the different markets. For example, Saudi Arabia is one of the key regions that we are also working in, and these guys are also very different, unique. And like having an empathy, I actually really appreciate you guys coming to Japan and doing the business from, in a way, out from outside, because I can see it must be so different from other, especially Western countries. Yeah, and trying to understand and be empathic is very important. Going to different markets, that's what we are literally doing. Going to Europe, US, and now in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is very much different. Still, they're running Sunday to Thursday. Yeah, and they have like today. As of today, it's in Ramadan, so they don't eat during the day, and everyone is this like white loaf. in the business. But yeah, we respect that, and we go, talk to their customer in the language. That's very important too.
Yeah, and obviously I can't really contribute to this, but I would maybe give some feedback actually as a company coming to Japan. What I've seen in the last 2 years, 3 years, especially with platforms like FINOPITCH, the Japan FinTech Week, the JFTM forums, and all of this. The one, I guess, feedback, if I could say that, is that I really appreciate the Japanese companies in opening up their arms and welcoming foreign companies to come in and share learnings and to explore ideas of how we can bring some of this innovation to Japan and vice versa, right? This is something that we really appreciate, and I know there are some barriers that we need to cross, language, culture, but what I appreciate is that a lot of the company representatives I meet, you see that they're making that effort, and I know it's not easy to do, especially given the tradition, the rich tradition, I would add, in Japan. So that's something I really appreciate, and we see that continue to evolve, and obviously this week and next, it's very, very vibrant, a lot of good conversations happening. So that's something I really appreciate.
Okay, great. So thank you very much also. So finally, yeah, it's about the time. So finally, so it would be great if you could share what is your next in the future, your plan, and give all attendees, including startups, entrepreneurs, your advices before this closing. So, David, go please. Yeah.
Sure. So for us on a company level, for HeyMax, we've just closed a Series A, so we're many letters until where you guys are. But with this Series A fundraise, we are looking to expand regionally very ambitiously, and Japan is a big market opportunity for us. Not to come to Japan right away, but actually to work with more companies like JRE to help them engage and acquire new customers who are coming into Japan as visitors and travelers, right? So this is an opportunity that we think we can add a lot of value in, and that's something we're very keen to explore as a business here in Japan. To the founders, entrepreneurs out there, I would say, you're not alone, right? You're not alone, and there's a lot of folks who've been through similar journeys. And to be fair, I think it's some of the challenges is not something we feel very, or maybe I'm just speaking on behalf of myself. It's not something we feel very confident in so sharing very candidly, right? I think it may just come across as a weakness to people who feel courageous enough to share those. So I think find other founders, have good conversations with them, and learn from each other. Right? I'm learning from other founders as well. I'm learning a lot from this panel today. So keep it up.
Thank you. Marco, please. Yeah.
Okay. I already kind of said before, but I mean, Moneytree's vision and my vision from now is just continue executing on our original vision. We just kind of have a big brother, and we're helping them shape what they're doing with our experience, and ideally doing that together. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm actually very happy to say that my job hasn't changed that much. But what I would say to people who are entrepreneurs or starting up companies or thinking about starting companies, it came up earlier as well, is how do you teach your culture and your values to your organization? And this is something at the, through Series A, even Series B, you're not really thinking about that much. But then when your organization scales to the level where entire business units or entire teams don't have any founders in them or watching over them, the organization does take a life of its own. So what I would recommend founders to do is really think hard about what your values are and what your beliefs are and what you want your company culture to be. Don't spend like days on it. Go find your product market fit, go build your product. But spend a day on it with your co-founders and really get it written down, like what is this company about? Because when you get to that later stage, hopefully you'll get to that later stage, you'll look back on that and be like, yeah, that's who we are, and that's who I want all of our employees to know who we are. And it will set up the next stage so you can get to Series Z and become a Japanese unicorn. So I really don't underestimate culture and values.
Okay, great. Harada-san, please.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. I also totally agree with the culture and the values of the company too. Alpaca's mission is open financial services to everyone on the planet. And what that means is that we want to serve to 8 billion people today, and probably in 10 years it's going to be 9 billion people. And we are still, like I said, at the beginning, 10 million accounts or something. So the end goal, the goal is infinite, but we are believing that we can do it. I don't know how long it takes, but that's our goal. More practically, of course, also we want to contribute back to anyone who has helped the company in a more material way. So in order for this type of the company to go public, we still need to go 10x at least from here. So that's kind of more short term, but also long term. We don't know how long it takes, but we want to be big. We want to change the way how global financial systems work. Yeah, because we see that problem. Talking to different founders, different financial service companies across the globe, there's still a lot of problems here and there. Yeah. Many things have been said, so I don't know how more stuff I can say, but to the kind of advice, I don't know. I want to say that, yeah, think big, think bold, and you need to imagine the vision in a very clear way. Like if it's not super clear, then just spend time thinking through how that vision looks like in your head, and keep thinking about it, keep thinking through it. And the clearer you can picture the vision in your head, the more likely that you can achieve. That's my belief. Again, I haven't proved yet, in my opinion. So that's my own theory. But also so for example, I was, I currently am in Dubai, and I'm seeing this Burj Khalifa, and it's the tallest building in the world right now. And if you look at Dubai 50 years ago, there was nothing. There was just a complete desert. And I read the book from the Sheikh Mohammed, and he had this vision of how this Dubai should look like in 50 years, and that's how this city became the city today. And I was very impressed, and that's how I'm also reminding myself how this the 10 years, 20 years is going to look like. At the same time, practically also as a founder, that's not the only thing you need to do. Every day, you need to fight a fight. Don't forget about it. Yeah, don't be shy away from problem solving, and that's very important. But also, that's not the only thing. This unfortunate, unrealistic balances between two extremes. That's always important. Optimistically pessimistic. Think bold, think big, but also start from small, and always very unrealistic and inconvenient fact. That's what we do. Yeah.
Very strong comments, finally. So thank you very much. So it's about the time. So we will finish up this session soon. So thank you very much for joining this session. And I believe the discussion was quite interesting and quite insightful, especially in the view of the internationality compared to the past session. So I believe so you guys also enjoyed through this session. I believe so. Finally, so please give them the big hands from audience. Yeah. Thank you very much.